Hi, good evening, and welcome to the ZP blog. So every week at 8 p.m. London time, we do a little news and roundup of news from Zimmer and Peacock for this week. So we always do it as a sort of retrospective. So this is looking back at the week starting the 26th of July 2021. Now at 8 a.m. on Thursdays, we do a live webinar for our ZP Developer Zone members, so that's much more technical. But this webinar that we do now is more just for sort of news and chat. So the first thing I want to just mention upon. Hi Ali, hi Saran. Hope you're feeling better. I imagine Aftab's online as well. So just a little bit of news is that Zimmer and Peacock, we understand that there's many people in this world who are very good electronic engineers. So we don't try, and we absolutely don't try to compete with all these electronic engineers. We do make electronics for biosensors, but it's really just to kind of, let's say, help out. We know what we're really good at is biosensors themselves, but we do make electronics. And we put a little video out there this week. It was by one of our engineers. They put together a little video showing us testing a ZP sensor, a ZP pH sensor. There we are, there's FTAB. So cool. And the reason I just want to kind of highlight it this evening is because we're not trying to be electronic engineers at ZP. We're pretty good at it, but like I say, there's many good engineers in the world, so we don't try to compete upon it. But what we're trying to do here is actually make the price for electronics just come down and down and down and down. So in the end, it's sort of no-brainer, really. So a little bit of news from Zimmer Peacock. We made some low-cost electronics. If you want fully functioning potentiostats, I absolutely suggest the Anapot or the Census Smart. These are cool technologies. The Census Smart is definitely a low price, but we're really just trying to bring the price down. So if you're making iron selective electrodes and you're working with sodium, potassium, pH, ammonium, calcium, chloride, phosphate, nitrate, etc., then this set of electronics is probably the lowest cost set of electronics on the market. So that was just a little bit of news from Zimmer Peacock this week, that we've really brought the price down on electronics. And I think we're going to do it. We're going to get even more so on this. Like I say, if you want a potentiostat, get a potentiostat. They're good, especially those Census Smart. That's a good price and a good functionality. But if you just want to do potentiometric sensors, then just use that low-cost electronics that we've put out there. Right, just saying hi to one of the guys. And let me just go to some more news from Zimmer Peacock. So this week was the Biosensors Congress, and Zimmer Peacock were chairing the workshop this week, and we were also presenting a poster, and we were also chairing one of the streams called 3i on commercializing biosensors. So we just put a little video out there this week of the poster that we presented. I did a little bit of a talk through on it. This poster was done with somebody called Samar. And I say somebody, we've been friends with Samar for years and years, and so we've done some work with her. She put together a poster. I made a bit of a presentation for it, and so there's an online video just talking about that. The nice thing about Samar's work is the way she formulates sensors. They always work, and they're pretty cool. So that was just some news from Zimmer Peacock this week. That there was the Biosensors Congress. We were really busy chairing it. But we also got to present a poster at the Congress this week. So just a little bit of news from Zimmer and Peacock. There's going to be a few conferences now. We're actually also, it's an online conference called Census in Medicine 2021. This is run by Census 100. So they've been running these conferences for sort of a number of years. This one is going to be online. And I think it's taking place, I say here on the 8th to the 12th of the 9th to the 12th of November, but the organizer told me he's actually extended it by one day, so the 8th to the 12th of November. So Zimmer Peacock will be exhibiting at the Census in Medicine. It's an online conference, but I also suspect we'll end up talking at that conference as well. So we are certainly busy going to conferences. Now, the next page, like I say, we like to do these kind of weekly updates. The next page is maybe more, well, so ZP will be exhibiting at Medica. Now, I suspect that we'll be exhibiting at the wearable stand. So, if you don't know Medica, I would say that Medica is probably the world's biggest conference on medical technology. It's always held in Dusseldorf every year. It's attended by about 125,000 people. So you've got 125,000 people getting into this massive exhibition space. But I mean, 125,000 people is a massive conference. I think 125,000 people is that would make it alone the second biggest city in Norway. I mean, 125,000 people is bigger than most towns and cities in the UK. So it is pretty massive. So we will be exhibiting there. It's one I really like because it's, it's very efficient, in terms of there's so many people there, there's so many companies exhibiting there. You could be walking around, you just bump into somebody that you haven't seen in years. So it is actually a really good exhibition to go to. The only problem with it is you can imagine what the hotels are like with 125,000 people all trying to book hotels for like a 3-day conference. Yeah, it gets really crazy, really expensive. But that said, hopefully ZP will be, when I say hopefully, we will exhibit, but I'm just more concerned that, we might have a surge in COVID-19 in Germany or the UK, and it might prevent travel. But if you've not heard of Medica, hopefully you've heard of it now. I go there. It's really good. It's really massive. It's interesting just to walk and talk to people. And it's a great place for networking. So just FYI, we'll be going there. Zimmer Peacock will be exhibiting. We had a ZP Developer Zone webinar. It's really well attended these days. So every week, we have the ZP Developer Zone. Anyone who's got a technical question and has a sort of academic background or startup, we get them to post their questions onto the forum, and we answer these questions in the forum, and it's well attended, and I think people really appreciate, the sincerity with which we do this, and it's really cool because Aftab and Ali are really cool. They they'll give an opinion as well. I mean, Ali has a PhD in sort of analytical chemistry, and Aftab's got several papers in electrochemistry. So both guys, will chirp in and also answer questions, and they know just as much as we do. So that's pretty cool. We are going to do another webinar with palmsense. So palmsense, they make this Census Smart. It's pretty, I am a fan of the Census Smart. I mean, I'm so a fan of it. I put it on our own website, and I've probably got a lot of support material around it. So there is another webinar that's going to be taking place. Their Census Smart, our electrodes, and we'll show people how to detect caffeine. I mean, it's one of those things that if people are coming in from India to watch it, then they can get the Census Smart from our distributors in India. So we're represented by Technando in India, and they can get the Census Smart from those guys there. And obviously the screen printed electrodes also from there as well. So just summarize that bit. So we're going to do another another webinar with palmsense. It will take place on the 11th of August at 2 p.m. British Standard Time. Sign up for it. I'm happy to, if you attend, it'll only be about 30 minutes. It'll be quite light, that they'll do a little presentation. We'll do a live demo, answer any questions, and it'll be a kind of a live little light demo, and I'd call it kind of coffee break size type webinar, nothing too heavy. Some other news from Zimmer Peacock. This is a good one. I mean, at Zimmer Peacock, we talk every week, we talk about the developer zone. We say, look, that Zimmer Peacock creates opportunities. We've created an opportunity in Newcastle now for one of our members. We've also started a sponsorship of a PhD at Plymouth. So if you're a ZP Developer Zone member without a PhD and you kind of fancy, well, all I would say is take a look at the ZP website. There's a PhD at Plymouth if it looks interesting. You can find some contact details there. So I think at ZP now we're sponsoring, we're actually sponsoring a minimum of 2. We've got one at Swansea, one at Plymouth, but we're actually starting to sponsor what's called the CDT. So the CDT, it allows us to sponsor PhDs in places like Glasgow and Aston and Birmingham and even in Ireland. So we've got a lot of PhD sponsorship opportunities coming up. I mean, just as a joke between the guys who come on regularly, if you want to become the world's biggest biosensor company, you better sponsor all the next generation of PhDs. so we do it because I think if you help people, people help you. That's our kind of company philosophy, and it's not so much money for a company to be able to sponsor these PhDs. So we're happy to do it. What else have we got going on? We had cleanliness sensing technology from Zimmer Peacock. So this is just a kind of thought that kind of had come to me. We get people asking us about, can you make me a sensor for bacteria? But actually sometimes the question is, can you detect whether I've got surface contamination or this object is as sterile as I think it is? So the question is not what is the bacteria, the question is actually, is there bacteria? And so when you're thinking about the question, is there bacteria? Now Ali has a background in food companies as well, food technology. So the question sometimes is not whether there's E. coli present, there's whether is there bacteria present, is it clean? And so in that, Ali's just asking, this PhD is partially funded for international students. Ali, I think the quick answer is I believe this PhD is actually funded for foreign students, because I know I've been in some of the interviews. Now, what they try to do is charge foreign students fees. But if you're a member of the ZP Developer Zone, then and you fancy going for this, then we might be able to do something about that. So, quick answer is Ali, it's open to anyone. So not Ali, Aftab. The PhD is open to anyone. They might try and charge foreign fees for foreign students. They're not too much, those fees, and we might be able to do something about it for the right candidates, if you know what I mean. Right, now back to my point about bacteria. So Ali comes from the food industry. Ali knows that it's important to obviously keep things clean and hygienic. But I think sometimes, do you need to know whether it's E. coli or do you need to know whether it's dirty or not? And if the question is, no, I actually need to know whether it's dirty or not, then I would slightly suggest that actually you were actually more interested in detecting ATP, adenosine triphosphate. So ATP is a good marker, or it's a recognized marker for knowing whether bacteria is present or not. ATP is obviously part of its kind of energy cycle, or bacteria's energy cycle. So I kind of make a little argument on this page that if you generally want to answer the question, is there bacteria present, then don't make a E. coli sensor or a Staphylococcus aureus sensor or a Listeria sensor. Make a ATP sensor, because that way you will capture broadly the bacteria. Because if you make an E. coli sensor and actually there wasn't that much E. coli there, but it was a Listeria, then you will have missed the fact. So you can either try and make a sensor, a panel of sensors, one for Listeria and one for E. coli, or you can actually just go, no, these bacteria have ATP associated with them, therefore I will make a sensor for that, which is useful because we actually have IP at Zimmer Peacock for those kind of sensors. because essentially ATP falls into this kind of definition of purines, and we have purine sensors. So I have biased, but I always kind of give it straight. If I'm biased, I'll tell you. But I do think it's an interesting point. I'd like to hear some other people's thoughts about that. That if you're actually trying to test for cleanliness, is it good to have a sensor that's very specific to bacteria, or is it better to have a sensor that's more broadly, let's say, sensitive to bacteria activity? Because you're not going to know what bacteria is actually there, And so that was just some thoughts and a little bit of a note that we put out there this week, which I think sometimes reflects on Zimmer and Peacock a little bit. That we're not there to promote all our products. We're also there to kind of have a discussion with people, because actually I've learned much more from having conversations with people like Ali and Aftab and Saran along the way than you'll ever learn just by yourself. I mean, that's the beauty of collaboration. So last piece of news. Now this is I think this is actually a private webinar, so unfortunately this is a good point actually. Ali saying that's right, we need to distinguish between bacteria and other types of contaminations. Yeah, that's interesting. So the last piece of news this week is we're doing a webinar with Amity University. It's a non-commercial webinar. It's really about let me have a quick dig into it. It's about commercialization and technology of electrochemical biosensing for point of care. So these are obviously themes that are pretty close to our heart at Zimmer and Peacock. It's also a nice webinar because it kind of tells you about our, obviously our interest, in India and supporting and being supported by India. So we support India, India supports us. It's definitely a win-win situation. If you look at ZP, we've probably hired more engineers in India of recent than any other country. So we're doing a webinar. We're doing it with Amity University. We're also doing it in collaboration with USN, University of Southeast Norway. You'll always hear me say USN. We have great partnership with USN. They're the university very close to us. And so the three of us are doing a webinar. As I say, it's a non-commercial one. It's just, I say non-commercial. It's not about Zimmer and Peacock. It's about biosensing and how to bring biosensors to market. So I will do a quick summary for this week. So let me just do a quick summary. It's fair to say it's been a busy week. This week I've kept it very light in terms, I tried to keep it light in terms of, we didn't talk much about technology, but we have released some more electronics for biosensing. At this moment it works with ion selective electrodes. ZP is not trying to develop a potentiostat of its own. I really think there are good potentiostats. When I say of our own, we have the Anapot, but I think that the Census Smart would be my favorite potentiostat in terms of cost versus functionality. It's good, but we are allowing, we're bringing a different type of electron to the market, which is not a potentiostat. It's just for measuring ISEs, ion selective electrodes. Anyway, that was some news. We did the biosensor poster this week at the Biosensors Congress. We also chaired a whole day at the Biosensors Congress. That was pretty grueling. We chaired another session at the Biosensors Congress. So it's been a busy week at the Biosensors Congress for us. We were happy to be exhibiting in Sensors in Medicine in November, and also in November we'll hopefully be able to go to Medica. And I say hopefully, it's just about the COVID-19, obviously, if that kicks back in. So hopefully we can go to Medica. We did the ZP Developer Zone on the screen printed electrodes, doing another webinar with palmsense. That'll be around, I think, the 11th of August. Cleanliness sensor, so we're promoting the use of our purine sensor in looking at cleanliness. And as I say, on the 12th of August, we've got a webinar with Amity University. All right, so that's the news from Zimmer and Peacock this week. As I said, I saw Saran is online. I hope he's feeling better soon. Thank you, Ali and Aftab, for always coming. It is useful because it keeps you guys kind of especially it keeps you up to date with what we're up to, which is super useful. So I appreciate this kind of this slightly one-sided conversation that we have every every Sunday. All right, guys, it's 8:20 in the UK. I appreciate you guys coming along, and I will catch some of you on Thursday, and I shall see some of you in work this week. All right, thanks all, and